Thank you very much. Please hold us accountable to these, and we'll do our best to not forget, especially in the fog of presenting. I don't want to forget these great ideas. But right now, it is my sincere pleasure to keep these amazing speakers coming. Travis Mack has presented before to our group, and just is such a joy to hear. So he's going to be speaking, chairman of the board and CEO of the Salix Corporation. And Fred Royal is going to be moderating. Fred's back there, and he's the managing director and head of diverse businesses at JP Morgan Chase Commercial Banking. Please welcome these two wonderful gentlemen to the stage for their fireside chat.
How about that theme song?
So Travis yesterday let us know that he wanted that as the theme song. What you don't know is that every time I call him, immediately that goes into my head. So hopefully most of you know that song. So we are absolutely delighted to be here. I enjoyed the last session, just hearing the thoughtful questions, feedback. Had a chance to speak with one of the CEOs right before the session. And to me, it just grounds me in why we do the work that we do, the impact that we have, the partnership, and just thoroughly enjoy being here with you. So with that, let's get started. Travis Mack, there's so many great things about you, my friend, but let's start with, why did you decide to go into business? What was it about business? What problem did you want to solve? And then secondly, if you could just kind of spend, just at a high level, kind of share about Salix.
Sure. Well, I am absolutely excited to be here speaking with a room full of veterans and people that have walked, certainly in the same shoes that I've walked in. I'm a Navy veteran. Go Navy. Right, there you go, right? Where the rest of your services at? Again, Fred, we're thrilled to be here and thrilled to support and talk about just my journey and try to share some information that might be helpful as you go down yours. I'll tell you a little bit about Salix. We are about 175 million, 1,200 employee organization, primarily supporting the Department of Defense in the areas of test range management, engineering services. We do a lot of cyber. We do a lot of information technology support. The Naval Air Systems Command is our largest customer, followed by the Navy Sea Systems Command. And then we do some Air Force Material Command stuff as well. And so primarily services on the government side of the house, but been doing that for about 25 plus years, and got a lot of wounds and a lot of scar tissue, but we've been able to really kind of transcend and try and go to the next level. To answer your question, and not spend too much time in, and I'm looking forward to the Q&A part. And if you're sitting in this audience, I know we're not going to be shy about asking questions, right? That's something that we are not shy about doing as a group, as a cohort. So I think, why I decided to go, into business myself. Probably an insatiable curiosity, curious about everything. And, probably coupled with a dose of massive ignorance as well. And, that has been my driver, as far as, really getting out there, trying to understand the business world and really trying to execute a strategy that I thought was going to be beneficial.
Great. So let's build on that. One of the key missions of the business that we've created inside of JP Morgan is investing intellectual capital, investing capital, and being intentional, bringing the resources of JP Morgan to help veteran businesses scale and grow. That is the hallmark of what we want to accomplish. So let's talk about your journey. We have businesses in here that may be 5 million, they could be 20, they could be 50. So let's spend a minute talking about those inflection points and sharing your insights as to how we can help a $20 million business get to that next level. And at a couple of those different breakpoints, I think that would be incredibly valuable for the audience.
Sure, sure. I think at those tiers, and believe me, these are all tiers that we all go through, right? Whether you're, $1 million, whether you're $5 million, whether you're 20, whether you're 30. I mean, these are all transition points. They're all inflection points on managing and growing your business. JP Morgan as an organization, by the way, shout out to JP Morgan. I bank with them. Coming from other institutions. By the way, did you guys happen to see that guy by the name of Jamie Dimon yesterday that came and spoke with you? Can I be brutally honest with you about that just real quick, 30 seconds? How often is it that you get to see the chairman and CEO of the largest bank by market cap? I've been to the other banks. I never got that kind of access, and I often kid them that they're the largest, but boy, you guys sure seem small. And I often say that that's one of the benefits, and also for ventures like this, right? Gatherings like this. I will tell you, the strategy that you're using, when you're $1 million, is certainly going to be different than the strategy that you're using at $5 million. It's certainly going to be different at $10 million because those inflection points require different type of efforts, and most importantly, different type of people and different type of systems, right? And I think we struggle as businesses sometimes because we fail to see that inflection point is now time, and we got to make some really, really, really difficult decisions as we start to go up that scale. And JP Morgan actually helps with that. There are a lot of these type of things where you're being put in the room with like-minded individuals that can help drive that escalation as you go up the curve.
Right. Okay. All right. So we've had success. You've built businesses, but as everyone knows in this room, in any business, and even quite frankly throughout life, it's not a straight line.
No.
Right. So let's talk about experiences that you've had where things didn't quite go according to plan. And can you kind of share an example of something like that? And then what did you learn from it? How did you pick yourself up to continue to grow?
Sure. Well, I will say that there are more bad days than good days. I think we can all agree to that, right? And the first part I will tell you is, and you've heard this a million times, perseverance is your savior. There's going to be no way around it. You're going to have to pick yourself up. Me personally, I give myself 48 hours. I have the 48-hour rule. Does anyone know what the 48-hour rule is? Let me give you the 48-hour rule. You got 48 hours to feel sorry for yourself. Do what you got to do. Cry, lie in bed, whatever the case may be. You have 48 hours, right, to have a pity party. After that, you got to figure it out, right? And if you really want to know what our superpower is, our superpower is that we can figure things out, right? Without necessarily knowing where the destination is going to be. And so on many occasions, we've lost major initiatives, and I'm standing up thinking to myself, oh my God, what's next? What do I do now? And I go through my 48-hour window, right? I believe in it. I believe in it. And then I have to stop feeling sorry for myself, and then I got to go out and try and put the pieces together in order to figure out what the next move is. And I believe in that. I believe in that structure. I believe in that approach, and that's happened on more than one occasion. There is no just one bad day. There are multiple bad days, and sometimes they're consecutive, right? They're absolutely consecutive, and so I think having that perseverance and being able to really separate yourself from the emotion, and then go put the pieces for the solution that's in place. And they may not all appear at once, but to me, that is how you continue to battle those inflection points of bad times that you're undoubtedly going to face as a growing organization.
So you acknowledge the challenge, give yourself a period of time, pick yourself back up, and then build upon that.
Absolutely. And then leverage your relationships. I love the gentleman's idea that stood up and said, you guys should be creating a group, right? I don't know, WhatsApp group, chat group, whatever the case may be. That's a huge resource, right? Just lost my director of HR. She or he was the world. I don't know what I'm gonna do now. Does anyone out there know a director of HR? Yeah, you know what? We couldn't hire that individual, but I know they're available. They interviewed wonderfully, and this might be a fit for you. That's power.
Yeah.
That is power. And so, just some thoughts.
Right. Okay. So embedded into your responses, we have to figure it out. That's our superpower.
Yep.
Which speaks to beyond Travis Mack. There's this whole management team that has now celebrated. Congratulations, your 25th anniversary. Right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Which is awesome. So can you talk a little bit about human capital? How do you think about your management team?
Yeah.
What kind of qualities do you look for? And we asked the question because as this set of cohorts builds their businesses, critical to any business is certainly the product fit, the service that you can deliver, how it's differentiated, but then what's the team that's going to execute?
Sure.
So let's talk about that.
This is the painful part of the conversation. And what I've had to learn over the years is this. The people you start out with are not necessarily going to be the people that you finish with. And we have got to let go. What I've had to learn, and I've struggled with, I'm going to be brutally honest, I've struggled with, is figuring out that timing. Because I felt this is a loyalty room, right? We serve, right? In fact, we volunteer to serve in a lot of these cases. And we struggle with the timing of that. And so I have, as you progress, as you grow your organization, you're going to have to figure out what the timing is for you to expand your human capital. And you're going to have to elevate that. And that's going to be those are going to be some hard decisions that you're going to have to make. And the companies that can do that and do that efficiently and effectively and have a defined way of doing it are really much better positioned to excel at the next level. Because if you don't get rid of those folks, and if you don't transition from that particular level, you're going to be stuck there. And you're going to hit this plateau, and you're never going to progress. And so that's what that's one of the thoughts about, how we transcended. Because, after I got over that, it was really about putting the best person in the best role. And just because they had been there for 10, 12 years didn't mean that they were still that individual that needed to be in that role as we grew and as we continue to elevate the services.
Yeah, I think that's spot on. And I think, across our portfolio and the clients that we work with, the ability to discern the team for today and then as you scale, and often that it could be the CEO.
Yep,
right?
Exactly.
The CEO, as the business scales and needs to continue to professionalize, there may come a time where there's a need for a new CEO.
I think that's a great point. Look, I can't be good at everything, nor should you try to be good at everything. You got to know where you fit in.
Yeah.
And then you got to play that role. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean you being at the front of the pack all the time. I have a true saying about you as leaders of your organization. You got to know whether you got to lead from the front or whether you got to lead from the back. Depending upon the maturity of your organization will define whether you need to be leading from the front or the back. Immature organizations, we always got to be the ones, out at the front, driving the ship. Mature organizations, that's not necessarily the case. I need to be at the back supporting them, supporting their decisions, giving them the infrastructure, giving them the systems, and then getting the hell out of their way and letting them go execute the strategy that I have laid out, or the direction that I would like to go.
Right.
And that has been really one of those mindset things that I had to get used to, that I had to get accustomed to, that I kind of had to grow into with a lot of pain along the way. But it's been beneficial and has served us well.
Yeah, no, I think that's sage advice. So kind of one last question around human capital. Once you establish the team, it's the next key thing is culture.
Yes.
Right? Like how do you go about creating a successful team-oriented culture? And clearly it starts with you as the leader, but how do you develop that such that it permeates throughout the organization?
Well, I think that's, again, with the individual, with the leader. I think it's about listening to your organization. I think it's about trying to survey and ask as many questions. You know, you have to be curious about what the people of your organization think about. You have to be curious about how you can influence that and potentially make that a little bit better. I think you have to be somewhat demanding about gaining that information in order to be able to, because your culture is what defines you as you go out there and as you present yourself to the world. So to me, it's one of those areas that you got to pay attention to, and you got to figure out the mechanisms in order to help you define it. I mean, you could say, hey, my culture's great. But the underbelly, if you haven't asked the questions, if you haven't went and done the work, done the heavy lifting, then your opinion may be somewhat totally opposite of what truly is prevalent in your organization.
So I love the point around, number one, you have to listen to your employees. But I also love the fact that being intentional about leaning in, even if they're not giving you all the feedback that you want, and challenging them. I think that's a really important point.
You gotta go sit down in front of people. You gotta sit down in front of people. You gotta do the surveys, compile the surveys, and then you gotta go talk to people within your organization. And sometimes we're so head down focused on, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, I gotta do this, right? Then we kind of miss that, and we miss that opportunity to really go in there and really ask those hard questions so we can get some really good answers. And sometimes they're gonna be painful, and you're gonna be like, what do you mean we don't, right? You're gonna go into your pity mode a little bit, but then you gotta transcend that, and you gotta really address the questions and the concerns that may be running throughout your organization.
Okay. All right. Okay. So now let's go on to, with a long-lasting business, what's clearly key is a long-term view.
Sure.
Right? And kind of deepening, fostering, cultivating long-term partners. So you kind of share like your approach as you think about some of these big organizations that are your biggest customers. Like how did you go about gaining their trust, developing their relationship, and speak to how you've approached developing that partnership?
Well, you as a small business, which I would imagine that most of the organizations are in here.
We actually have a pretty
broad.
Yeah,
Okay,
pretty
great.
broad, and love as.
Well, let me do a survey
discover-
real quick. Let's see, 1 to 5 million, raise your hand. 5 to 10 million, raise your hand. 20 to 40 million, raise your hand. Okay, we got a broad. Okay, great. So I can talk. Wonderful. I can talk to all those levels. This is a good day. It's a good day. Look. All levels have different set of problems that have to be addressed. As you continue to grow up, and we all battle that credibility. One of the things I would say now, early on, I was worried about systems and people, right? Putting the right people in the right roles, building the infrastructure of my organization. Then I kind of transcended to, okay, well, you know what? Now I got to build, I got to make sure the process is in place. I got to make sure we train our people. I got to make sure all those kind of things. Now, honestly, as we continue to think about credibility and being best of breed, if I don't say, I haven't said best of breed many times today. That needs to be the focus. Best of breed. We've really kind of started to think about, okay, how do we continue to improve our infrastructure? How do we continue to give a better service or a better product to our end customer? And honestly, we've jumped on the AI bandwagon. I mean, we're really leaning forward in an AI-first organization, trying to build it into every single thing that we do, every single initiative, every single business system, because we think that there are gains that we can deliver to our end customer very efficiently without me having a whole bunch of analysts in the back room crunching numbers.
Yeah.
Right? It's that serious, and it has that big of an impact on your infrastructure and that big of an impact on the growth and the health of your organization.
Got it. Okay. So turning a little bit further, or leading into growth.
Sure.
One thing, Travis, I appreciate about you from the day that I met you is that you're focused not just on growth, but both internal and or organic and then external growth.
Yep.
So can you talk a little bit about how do you think about both of those growth levers?
I think early on, you need to focus on organic growth, right? Early on. And when I say early on, I'm just going to put it into the government model. Early on, when you're 0 to whatever that small business threshold number is in the federal government, I don't know, 42, 47 million, whatever the case may be, it needs to be about organic growth. It needs to be about how do you grow organically, how do you build a better product, how do you build a better service for your potential end customer. 80% of your business comes from 20% of your customers. Don't be boiling the ocean. Can't, right? Yeah. Don't boil the ocean. Focus on what you're good at. Focus on the customers that's paying your bills, right? Those are the ones. And then continue, it's an iterative, innovative process, right? Innovation. Keep changing it. Mess up, change it again. Mess up again, change it again. Wait. Mess up one more time, change it again. And it needs to be iterative. And it needs to be built into your psyche. It needs to be built into your psyche. And so that's what you need to be focused on early on till you get to a certain point. At some point, I would tell you, we had to start looking at inorganic growth because we knew we couldn't just, and I'm just going to take my organization for example. We knew we couldn't just bid and propose our way to being the next billion-dollar organization. We knew that. We also did the research and the math and the homework that says, okay, most of the defense contractors have really looked at inorganic growth. And now I shift the conversation to private equity, folks, by the way, just in case. Shifted it to, how do we grow inorganically, right? Through whether that's mergers and acquisitions, whether that's the whole 9 yards. And so I think once you get to a certain point, you pick the point, right, where you think that you have maximized your organic growth vertical, and then you got to look to inorganic growth models in order to propel you to the next level. If that's what you want to do, you may make the decision like I've done good. It's time for me to go. I'm ready to go and play golf. I am ready to go and do whatever it is in the third, fourth part of my career, and then I need to look at maybe it's time for me to exit. And I think that's a personal decision that each and every one of you will have to make. How much effort you want to put into it, but at a certain point, at a certain business threshold, you got to look at organic growth, but coupled with inorganic growth. And how do I do the inorganic growth? And how do I put the team in place in order to help me facilitate inorganic growth?
Yeah. So, and then as you kind of think about that pattern where you're going to look to expand beyond the core business, and I love the idea of run as hard as you can, iterate, build a business, but then when you want to get to a certain level, you may need to look outside. So I like that as a formula. So can you talk about, like for you, how you as you look at exploring those acquisitions, kind of how have you leveraged your network? Who has been key? Because I think part of that is you may be in a room or not generally be in the room that you need to be in, which is why it's so critical that we have rooms like this to convene and provide those opportunities. And I know you're very intentional about expanding and building your network. So you kind of share, how do you approach?
Well, I try to be in the room just like you are. Hats off to yourself for taking time out of your busy schedules to participate in this. This is not easy. And, you know, I'm sure you all got daytime jobs, right, that you need to be tending to. You know, I've really focused on trying to, when we talk about building inorganic teams versus organic teams, leveraging the relationships. JP Morgan is a great example of leveraging, right, the relationship. They got a department and a person for everything. You just have to ask the questions. You have to ask the questions. I think it's really important for you to be a part of different groups, different entities, different verticals, whatever, in order for you to gain that knowledge, because you don't know what you don't know. And you got to work to fill in that knowledge gap. And you got to be okay with not being the point person. You really do. You have to put people around you, of course. And I'm preaching to the choir. You got to put people around you that expand you. And I think, you know, organizations like JP Morgan can help you do that, right? They can help you think about things that you really haven't thought about. And then it can be upon you to go out and say, hey, you know what? Now I can put this particular piece in place. Yeah. Now I can do this, or now I can look at this. And so, you know, leveraging those relationships, and this is an important part of it. Yeah. Yeah. And this is why I love the idea about the WhatsApp group. I mean, you're having a wonderful opportunity to coalesce amongst each other to share, you know, your knowledge base. And I think you should capitalize on it, including JP Morgan and whomever else you may be working with. That has a different level of expertise than you.
So I promised the audience that I didn't ask him to mention JP Morgan. Okay. But so
shout out
we
to JP.
appreciate it.
I mean,
okay.
I'm going to keep it real with you guys. That's for sure. I'm going to keep it real with you guys.
But I also know for you, leveraging your network, finding the right attorneys, finding the right accountants, finding the right private equity firms, it's that collective ecosystem?
It's that collective ecosystem, absolutely. Because honestly, you don't have the expertise or the time to go out and vet all of those particular verticals that you're going to need, right? I'm not a CPA. I mean, look, I understand it. But, you know, if I'm trying to go out there and find someone that's going to come into my ecosystem that's going to help me, right? I should call someone that deals with CPAs all the time. I should call someone and, you know, have them serve. If I trust their expertise, I should have them serve as my vetting organization. Give me 3 names of individuals that you have dealt with in the PE space. Give me 3 names that you have dealt with in this particular vertical. And they'll be happy to do it. Yeah. They will be happy to do it. And so, you know, that's kind of how you expand, you know, your ability to vet, because you need a lot of different players, you know, across the organization, especially as you grow.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right, Travis. So we definitely want to leave time for questions. So just going to close on 1 or 2 last ones. So to the degree that the audience has questions.
Oh, this is the fun part. The questions.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. So one thing I do want you to touch on, Travis, is that so you really built a business leveraging the opportunity of the government contractor space. Obviously, we have a new incoming administration. We had a good discussion earlier today where you kind of shared how you're thinking about, but I think it'd be helpful for the audience as we're all gearing up for the next administration and looking for growth opportunities. How do you plan to approach it, or how are you starting to approach it?
Sure. Well, listen, I think everyone in this room, I hope I'm not assuming, but everyone in this room is a capitalist, right? I'm not going to assume anything. I'm just going to. But
I think you did just assume.
I did, right? I did.
Right.
I'm assuming everyone in this room is capitalist, right? So everyone should be nodding. And I would tell you, I am also a veteran that served this country. How I'm thinking about the current administration is that, you know, America has decided. My job as a military veteran is to salute and get in line, right? That's what we do. Salute and get in line and to support the leadership that we have coming in, right? It's been decided, it's done, we're gonna get in line, and I'm gonna do my best to make sure this country is successful, right? From my perspective, for what I can do, right? Being part of the defense industrial base, that's important to me. And so we're gonna do that. So what are we doing right now? We are positioning ourselves to understand what the administration priorities are. We are absolutely doing that. We're getting ourselves in line. We are trying to understand. We are trying to position ourselves. We're trying to hold conversations. We're trying to build bridges. We are trying to build connections. I would recommend that all of us take that type of approach in order to continue executing our strategy and building and growing our businesses. Right? And that's how we're thinking about it. I'm thinking about trying to build bridges right now. I'm thinking about how do I let the Trump administration know what we're trying to do on our end, how we're helping the defense industrial base, how we're helping the supply chain, what is my company doing, and building those bridges. Because there's no value to us, not building those bridges. And so that's really what we're focused on and what we're trying to do and continuing to innovate our services and our products that we offer to the federal government and to the Department of Defense.
Okay, great. Sage advice. All right, so with that, we're going to open it up for questions for Mr. Mack.
Let's do it.